Hey, yep, we're live. Okay, so good evening and welcome to AMN's continuing coverage of the United States Senate elections. I'm Turtle, and today we're speaking with Crash. Yeah, sorry, I forgot for a second. Uh, who's running to represent the people in the U.S. Senate. This is part of our commitment to bring you direct insight from candidates shaping the future of our democracy. Thank you so much for being with us today. Okay, so let's begin by talking about your background. For those who may not be familiar with you, could you walk us through your personal and professional journey that led you here?
So I joined Geopolitica about 2 seasons ago. Season 8 I wasn't very active, but in season 9 I was leader of the IRA for a time. And then later, after I finished up that nation, that project, I moved to the US and was a member of the Midwest for a second. And then I quit the server again because it got inactive. And I came back after I got invited by friends, and I've been trying to build a political career in the U.S. and stay committed to a nation throughout the entire season. That's kind of my goal.
Okay. Are there, let's see, what values drive your campaign?
I think that first and foremost, it's important to listen to the people, right? Putting people first, and I think the government should be less involved in the lives of the citizens and only be there to protect its citizens, right? It shouldn't restrict them or oversight them. It should just be there to protect the citizens from enemy forces, whether that be like domestic threats, just like terrorists, trolls, whatever, or like external threats like other nations or other groups that are out to get Americans. And I think for protection and security are very important, and especially going after corruption and inactivity in the government itself.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's see here. If voters were to send you to Washington, what would be the first three issues you would tackle?
The first three issues, so I think that we need major voting reform. I think we should institute stronger election rules. I think that the rules around voting were a good idea, but not properly implemented. So I think voting reform would be a major part. So stuff like ranked choice voting and a ticket style voting system to ensure that people can only vote once and they can't like game the elections. Because all the Senate snap elections have been entirely open in comparison to the presidential elections, which were as soon as you voted, you got your roll removed. So I think the Senate election should be more similar to the presidential elections in security.
Yeah.
Second, I think that the government should step in and be a more guiding hand as far as infrastructure and planning goes. I think the build server was a good idea, but I do want to see there be more official layouts and maps and whatnot for what goes where and like what's priority. Because we got to prioritize our big capital cities and major economic stuff before we go out and do smaller projects out in the middle of nowhere. So I think like a centralized committee for infrastructure and architecture would be good in strengthening that with the government. And then also,
Okay,
I
yeah.
think that um, doing something about our more problematic members, right? Making sure that the government is enforcing rules and like reforming the court system so it can act more properly and actually enforce stuff like the Constitution, right? Because I think there's certain individuals and parties who I'm not going to name that are problematic and anti-constitutional, and they've gotten away with it almost scot-free, or a slap on the wrist. And I do think that that's a key part of protecting Americans, is to make sure that these people don't really get around and they harass our members or make them feel uncomfortable or whatever. So that's
Okay.
what I would put up for the first three policy.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So we actually have a couple questions here from people watching the stream right now. So the first one here is can you comment your opinions on each current cabinet member, one by one? Which, yeah.
Um, I guess for the most part, I don't know every single one off the top of my head, but I can go through them and just give a brief overview. I guess with the main overarching point is that the server is semi-inactive. It's kind of in that pre-season stage, and the government isn't doing a whole lot to try and hype things up and get everything active before the server. So I would like all the government positions and all the secretaries to get around and sort of help the president and the Senate to push stuff which would raise activity. Um, I guess I don't have a whole lot to say on all of them individually. I think they're fine people. I disagree with them on policy for the most part because Marcos is Republican. He appointed them, and I'm a communalist, so that's just there's going to be gears grinded there. But for the most part, I'm just fine with them personally, and I have some problems with a few of them. I guess a bit more personally because I ran against them or I have had arguments in the past with them, but that's about it. Overarching is just it's just not active, and I think the government needs to be more involved with the community as a whole.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of questions here, actually. So I guess I can keep going through the list here. So the next one here is why are you abandoning the. Wait, I can't even read this. Let me make this bigger. Why are you abandoning the proletariat by voting for a libertarian?
So that's I know that that question is coming from the Jacobins. The Jacobins were split off from the Communalists because they wanted to pursue more authoritarian politics, while the Communalists wanted to stay pro-democracy. I'm voting for Cal because I know him a bit more personally, and I trust him a lot more than I do the other votes. I'm not going to win, so there's no point of jeopardizing his potential victory by voting for myself. Um, so I'm just
Let's
voting for,
see.
and also Cal is he's like, he's a member of the Communalists, but he does rep the Libertarians because he just likes the aesthetic. There's not a whole lot to be said there.
Okay, so this question might be a little angry, I guess, but why are you a communist in America? It's from Livid Squirrel.
Okay, so I'm gonna start this off by saying I am not a communist. I'm a socialist, and there's a difference, right? As a communist, as a communist you would believe in total seizure of like everything, right? Of all personal and private property, and that stuff like that would be outlawed, right? As a socialist, I don't believe that. I just think that people should only have kind of what they need, and then everything after that is just secondary, right? So I don't think that one individual should own all the buildings or all the houses in a city, right? Because at some point it becomes sort of a monopoly, and they have extent control over other people's lives through that, and it is, corrupt, and I think it's morally wrong, right? And I don't know, it's hard to apply it to Minecraft. It's hard to apply the LARP into Minecraft, but I just don't think there should be people with absurd amount of wealth and the other people who have basically nothing or live in squander. So,
Yeah. Okay. What is your vision for the U.S. military's role in national defense and foreign policy?
um, okay, so it kind of goes country to country, but I think for the most part, a big staple of my belief is that we should be almost entirely uninvolved in European politics. I don't think our time or effort or supplies are well spent in Europe at all. And it would be better to focus on America and building relationships with nations who are willing to cooperate, right? So I think that pursuing relationships with Canada and the NCR are good. But as has been stated before, Texas is a bit iffy, right? Because they've been threatening us. And so I think the military should be prioritized as a strong people's, like, almost militia for the nation, right? It should be a national military that fights against enemies of the state. We shouldn't go out and just fight for pointless colonialism with Europe or for personal vendettas held by government members. It should be entirely in defense of the state as a last resort. And diplomacy should be a first and foremost uh, objective.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Do you support experimentation on economic models such as like pilot programs for universal basic income or maybe cooperative business models?
Um, I mean, yeah, I think it would be. I think again, it's hard to apply a lot of this economic stuff to Minecraft, but I do think that if companies in America discover a breakthrough, it would be a good idea to make sure those companies share these new advancements, right? To put America first, because we don't need companies in America, right? We don't need American companies bickering each other and dragging the nation down as a whole, when we could, form together and go farther than if we were separated.
Yeah, I can agree with that. How would you address a lack of knowledge on slime fun and other gaming mechanics in both U.S. leadership and citizenship?
So, the slime fun stuff, I think it would be interesting to propose a sort of program that would help users who want to understand it, right? So, get some of the people who do know these things for sure and hire them onto the government as like government workers to help train new members in slime fun. So we could have more people working on larger economic projects or military objectives to make sure that we have a foothold over other nations. So just kind of a training program and a government-backed training, and uh, I think also having them write a sort of basic guide or promoting the one that already exists would be a good idea too.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do a few. Just do a few, I guess, position clarifiers here. So, how would you approach like freedom of speech?
Freedom of speech. I support freedom of speech wholeheartedly, to the extent of which it doesn't bring down others needlessly, right? So I believe in freedom of speech. But if you're out here just insulting somebody for no reason, if you're using slurs or just you're cussing out somebody for nothing at all just because you're mad, then I think you shouldn't be censored entirely, but you should just be told to knock it off, right? That's not okay. That's not, it doesn't follow the Constitution. It's not any of that, right? It's just you have to keep things civil, and there are some people who just aren't civil, and they should be told to change it or they can get out, because overall it'll just bring down the morale of the entire nation if they keep it up.
Yeah. How would you approach balancing defense spending with domestic needs?
This would kind of depend on whatever situation America happens to be in on server launch. Um, and also just however the government takes in money, because that'll change a lot of how money is dispersed. If we have a lot of money to go around, then it wouldn't be bad to start dumping a lot more money into like national projects, right? Because I think a very simple thing is making America strong through what we build, right? We don't need the military backing entirely to show that we are strong, right? If we have massive cities and we have massive builds and stuff that impresses people or intimidates them, then that can serve as a line of defense as well. So I think that we should prioritize national projects over military funding, personally.
Yeah. So you think that, just to clarify here, you think that military spending should come before domestic projects
come-
or after?
It should come. It should come after. I think domestic projects are a form of defense spending, in the sense that they project power to other nations.
Okay. Some Americans feel democracy is eroding here. What do you say for those who fear their voices no longer matter?
I think that it's a very real fear. There's a lot of extremist and authoritarian ideas being thrown around, and the government is being a bit wonky and secretive, and there are definitely things happening behind closed doors that the average American isn't being told about. And I think that parties like the communists and whatnot should be seen as an example, because we have a very pro-democracy, pro-transparency agenda, right? I think re-implementing certain policies that would let us see what the government is doing would be a good idea. And I think having more stuff in presidential news and government updates would be important. And I think having certain people who keep these things updated would also be a good idea.
Okay. Let's do a couple more here and then we can wrap it up. How would your office engage with communities that feel disconnected from national politics?
So again, I want to shore up the common man, right? I want to shore them up and put them into a party and a community that they can feel more safe and understood and heard in. And I think this is my plan with the communalists going forward. And I think it should be a government policy that the government hears more people out through polls and petitions and whatnot. And I think we should promote these as a means of people getting their voices heard, and we should listen to them more often.
Okay, before we wrap up, is there anything else you feel hasn't been addressed that you'd like voters to hear about your campaign or your views on freedom or transparency?
I guess not off the top of my head. I love America, love Americans, and I hope the best for this nation and all the people in it. And yeah, I can only hope for the best for this country.
Okay, well, thank you for setting some time aside to meet with us. I'm sure that this will be very influential in this election, and I hope to have you on again soon.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this has been AMN special coverage. We'll see you all.